As a business owner, how often should you be trusting your instincts versus trusting data? And what if the data says go west and your instincts say head east? Well, you are about to find out. But first, here's your latest week of curated Amazon and e-commerce news. Amazon is now collecting and remitting sales tax for the following states. If you are an Amazon seller, take note of this: Arizona, California, Colorado, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Nevada, or Nevada, depending on what part of the country you come from, North Dakota, Texas, and Utah. If you are selling on Amazon, do this right now. In Seller Central, click on Settings in the upper right corner, then click on Tax Settings, then click the name of the state, one of the ones that I mentioned to you, in fact, do it to all of them. Type in your tax registration number, I'm assuming you have that taken care of. Then click the button that says, click to assign custom tax rate. Now here's what's amazing. Amazon is not just collecting the taxes. Like if Bobby McGee buys your product, it's already default. He will pay the tax for the product based on where the product is shipped. Amazon is remitting the tax. They're paying it out to the state. Back in the day, we had to do this all ourselves. But keep in mind, you are still responsible for all sales tax as the business owner. So you still need to send in the form as often as each state requires it. And most of them require a quarterly report. Now you're probably thinking, well, what about all the other states? Don't worry about them right now. Just focus on the top priority ones, and slowly but surely Amazon will roll this out. Can the founder who started a company also scale a company? I think this question needs to be addressed, and it is so relevant today. And I want to use WeWork as an example. BBC News reports that WeWork, the office space renting company, formerly valued at $50 billion, and that grew from just one office in New York City to more than 500 locations around the world, lost around 900 million USD the first 6 months of last year. Adam Neumann, the CEO, is stepping down. BBC News puts it this way, quote, "The co-founder's brash charisma, which once attracted investors, emerged as a liability," end quote. This is actually very common with companies. What happened? How could a dynamic leader grow a company this huge, have to step down to avoid accelerating the demise of the company? What it takes to launch a company is a different set of skills from what it takes to scale a company. Launch and scale are not the same thing, and they require a different amount of abilities. To launch a company requires visionary forward thinking that takes risks and moves fast. But to scale a company, to keep it growing and profitable over a long period of time, requires systems, automations, delegation, and a deep amount of trust from a lot of people, anywhere from staff all the way to outside investors. Mr. Newman's colorful personality and his wife being the cousin of actress Gwyneth Paltrow may have added some charm to WeWork's phenomenal growth in the early days. But his hard partying life raised the eyebrows of just too many investors, and the charm that launched his company could not sustain the scale of his company. If you want to see your company grow, you must become the person your company needs you to be, which means you have to change. And that's one of the hardest things to do as a company owner, or even any human, is you must be willing to change because the needs of the company change as it grows. What gets your company to its first milestone will not get it to its 99th milestone. While shopping malls suffer from a vacancy of shoppers due to the rise of online stores like Amazon and eBay, and even your own e-commerce brands online, does it make any sense to build a 3 million square foot jumbo mall with a theme park? In the coming months, take a drive to East Rutherford, New Jersey, and you will find ski slopes, the largest indoor water park in North America, a beach kept at 87 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, a sea life aquarium, a regulation National Hockey League skating rink, an aviary featuring local birds, a Nickelodeon universe, a slime stage, and costume characters including SpongeBob, Dora the Explorer, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And they're calling it the American Dream Shopping Mall. I said it a month ago, and I'm telling you again, your chance of surviving the brick and mortar apocalypse is selling online or creating an in-person brick and mortar experience that no one online could possibly compete with. And that is why I'm predicting that this mall is going to be insanely profitable. US lawmakers are grilling Mark Zuckerberg because Facebook does not fact-check ads run by politicians. Now, I tried really hard to stay out of politics, and I might just barely cross that line today. So I'm warning you, you saw it coming. According to BBC News in an article that came out last Thursday, quote, Mr. Zuckerberg said the platform would take down posts from anyone, including politicians, that called for violence or tried to suppress voter participation. As for untruths, however, he said it was not Facebook's role to prevent people in an election from seeing that you had lied, end quote. I want to know what you think. I'm about to tell you what I think. I agree. Since when did it become the responsibility of Facebook to police the truthfulness of others' ads run on Facebook's platform? If the politician who created those ads tells a lie, let the government hold them accountable. But why on earth is it Facebook's job to research every single ad for its veracity? I mean, just think for a moment about the subjectivity of this. Finding the truth of an ad is not just like doing a quick Google check. Because how do you know whoever put it on Google did it accurately? There are so many layers to finding the truth or falseness to something it's not even funny. No one would really care if Facebook was still a struggling startup. But now that they're big and successful, does this now mandate government control of their policies? Where does freedom of speech come from? Where does it enter into this play? In my opinion, the government needs to stay out of that side of it, but I want to know what you think. John D. Stoll wrote an article in Wall Street Journal entitled this, Feel the Force, Gut Instinct, Not Data, is the thing. Now the question is simple, but it's monumental. Should I trust data or my instincts when making decisions for my companies? What about that moment when the data is saying one thing over here, but you got this strong sense, a hunch you can't even prove that you should be going the opposite direction? Senior executives of the accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers LLP were asked this question. They said, how reliant will we be on computer-generated analytics in 2020? This was asked 3 years ago. And the answer was very simple, much more. Starbucks CEO Kevin Johnson said that, quote, data-driven decision-making is the secret blend he has used to keep the coffee empire percolating, end quote, since the departure of Howard Schultz. Yet, let's not forget, years back, when Starbucks was floundering during a very difficult time, Howard Schultz made decisions that the data analysts said was suicide for the company, and Schultz did it anyway. Today, Starbucks is considered the global icon for coffee more than any other brand on the planet. A billionaire venture capitalist named Masayoshi Son approaches business decision-making more like Yoda and less like Warren Buffett. He likes to feel the force when sizing up an opportunity. Now, Mr. Son made a super risky investment, $1.5 billion, into this little unknown Finnish mobile game developer called Supercell. Now, if you've played Clash of Clans, that is Supercell's fingerprint, sort of their claim to fame. Here's where Mr. Sun drives data analysts crazy. Here's what he said. He said he felt chemistry with Supercell's founder. Well, that's a really analytical approach. And that risky, gut-driven, non-data verified decision made Mr. Sun $8.6 billion less than 3 years later when he sold his stake in the Clash of Clans game maker. But doesn't Warren Buffett counter this lead by instinct approach? I mean, doesn't he run all his investments entirely by data? Or does he? It's been said data doesn't lie. Well, sure it doesn't. But how you prioritize one set of data over another, and the process you use to collect that data, and how you interpret that data is as subjective as asking a cactus to name the best desert plant. The answer is very simple. You use all that you can of both. You see, the company entirely driven by data is gonna struggle to innovate or excel because data alone leaves out the human ingenuity of instinct that a computer can never replicate. However, data cannot measure the non-mathematical elements of timing, personality, moments of opportunity that exist before data is relevant to prove their existence. On the other hand, if you only trust instinct, This can destroy a company fast because risky decisions are made, and without data, one is blind. So the key is to learn to use both. You integrate the two. I remember when Josiah and I would spend several days in a row from morning to night just analyzing data based on people who followed, people who were interested, people who were prospects. In fact, the need for data drove us to spend over $100,000 to build a software platform that would get us data faster and more accurately, and we never regretted it. But then we would also look at what kinds of things prospects got more emotional about, things computers aren't so good at measuring. And we knew that when talking about those emotional topics, it is easier to persuade someone to buy the product that you are selling. So if you mix data with leadership instinct, the result is powerful strategy. Here's an example. So you create a survey asking people their favorite type of monkey. The survey is multiple choice with two options. You either like funny monkeys or you like jumpy monkeys. Now, this survey already subjectively assumes that funny and jumpy are the only two important options for why someone loves monkeys. But if a third choice had been offered, called, let's say it's Snuggly Monkey, maybe 50% of the respondents would have chosen the third option, but because it was not offered originally, they had to choose between option 1 and 2. This means that the person who created the survey had to make a decision about the parameters of the data. You can have all the data in the world, but the decision on how detailed the data collection is can completely change the final numbers. You see, data only looks backwards. With data, you can only deal with what's already happened, whereas instinct looks forwards. It sees something before it happens because it's using the patterns that data creates to predict or forecast what he or she believes will happen in the future. This is why both data and instinct are extremely vital. So, as a business owner, here's what you need to do. Collect all the data you can and then apply your instincts. Sometimes you're just gonna know. You may not even be able to explain why, but what's happened is your brain has intuitively taken the data, it has synchronized it, integrated it into what you know about the market and the little pieces of information and patterns you've picked up on your prospects over the last several weeks or months or years, and then you act on it and you make it happen and you don't second guess yourself. That's my 10 cents.